how to be the observer in your conversations. In case we haven't met yet, I'm Jess and I'm the sole founder of Life in Confidence. And I'm going to share with you a personal experience that showed up recently between me and my beloved, and how this can serve you and support you in really noticing your beloved as well, or the people that you love, from the seat and the lens of the observer. And when I noticed my partner was making choices from a place of hastiness and didn't really consider the ramifications of the choices he's about to make, I let him know through constructive feedback, honest feedback, that to pay attention where this hastiness is coming from, and has he thought about the risk or the cons in those choices, and not just getting caught up in the pros. And he started to take it as a personal attack. He turned the honest feedback into criticism and started to react in a way that came from a wounded place, his inner child, feeling invalidated, unsupported, and somewhat neglected and abandoned, that his choices were not being supported in this. And as I observed him reacting, I then said to him, I'm noticing that you're taking my feedback as a form of personal attack or criticism, because that comes from a place of people pleasing. You're wanting to please me by doing this, this, and this, but you didn't consult with me about it or didn't think it through. And my intention wasn't to attack you at all. It was to just show you a different perspective and remind you where the hastiness is coming from. And, if you keep making choices from that place, where is it going to lead you? So I was really sharing that I was looking out for him, in fact, rather than the opposite in what he was thinking and feeling, where I was coming from. But I was actually looking out for him, whereas he thought I wasn't looking out for him by sharing this information. And I was saying to him, I can see this is coming from childhood trauma stuff. Number 3, the people pleaser. They take honest feedback as a form of invalidation and criticism. And he agreed when I explained it to him in that way. And he was able to go deeper and process his grief of feeling abandoned and neglected by his mother. And so through this conversation, I was able to not bend my back Benwards and say sorry and people please, because that didn't come from a place of alignment. I knew in my heart and soul I was not attacking him, and it wasn't coming from a malicious place. I was simply just giving him honest feedback because I care about him and I really want him to see things from another perspective and really take some time to feel into it before making that choice, because it's a reoccurring pattern. And when I was able to understand where all of his reactivity and triggers were coming from, it helped me to just simply hold space for him and also bring it to his awareness, what's happening. So then he gets clarity in the confusion that he found himself in. And as I just hold space for him while he's processing his emotions, it also helped us to clear the cloudiness in his lens so he can come back into the present moment and communicate with me from an adult perspective, not from the wounded inner child. And through that, he was able to finally understood where I was coming from after the cloudiness of his emotions and the lens that he was seeing it from has cleared up. That I did have his back and I was coming from a good place. And I was simply bringing it to his awareness, what he was doing to himself. And through there, we were able to reconnect again. And I was not triggered at all throughout that entire experience because I understood where these behaviors were coming from. And this is why it's really important for us to let go of any judgment as best as we can when we're engaging in conversation with someone, because we don't know the full story or history of that person. And the best way that we can do this is through awareness. And through that awareness is the knowledge of where is this coming from, how is this showing up. So I highly recommend you check out my free webinar, Overcome the Impacts of Childhood Trauma in 3 months. You can click on the link below and you can watch the webinar or the replay, and this can help you empower yourself. This information can truly help you to understand how other people operate as well as understanding yourself. So then you can come into these conversations from the seat of the observer. And I've also noticed myself that I get triggered when someone avoids me in conversation. And when this happens, I start to hold resentment, a negative charge with that person. And then I ask myself, how can I break this avoidant pattern that I'm attracting? And what the guidance came through for me was, why don't you confront them by asking them, hey, did you get my message? And I don't have to be brutal or vicious about it, but just to be assertive. And when I did that, they replied back to my messages. And it was really interesting that all I had to do was to say, hey, I sent you a message and I noticed you haven't seen it. Did you get my message? And I had to send that message on a public forum instead of private messaging, because they were avoiding me through the private messages, but they were engaging in the public forums. And that's why I was really diplomatic and strategic in the way I communicated this in a public forum, because I wasn't interested in bullying them or humiliating them. My interest was for them to simply just respond to my private message. So that worked. And it helped me how to move forward in those conversations, whether to let that person go or to continue that conversation with them and understand where they were coming from, giving them a chance to understand where they were coming from. And if they're not giving me a chance to understand where they're coming from, then I'm going to let them go, because this is not worth my time and energy to engage with them anymore. So I really hope that this message serves you, and if it does, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so I could raise more awareness through these videos. And feel free to give this a like, share what you got below, and also share it with your loved ones who are in need of this, who needs to hear this. And if you feel that you need to start moving through triggers and traumas and you still finding yourself trapped and stuck in them, I highly recommend you come and join me for my events. I have my connection circle for conscious men and women in Set to Guide Tokyo, Japan with my beloved in healing the wounded masculine and feminine. Bring yourself back into wholeness through creative play, creative expression, creative communication, and connecting with like-minded souls on this special evening instead of partying and drinking and all these sort of things that really ruins our consciousness and our hearts. So you can click on the link below to learn more about that. And I also have my last full moon ancestral trauma clearing circle. If you're ready to clear up some heaviness that you've taken on from your ancestors and your parents, and breaking some soul contracts through light language transmission, guided quantum meditation, sound therapy, sacred shares where you get to be seen and held, and a personalized message for how you can move forward, as well as astrological updates. So this will be my last one for the rest of the year, and I'm going to start revamping my online ceremonies for 2025. So if you are up for this experience, please click on the link below to book your spot. And I am also running my face-to-face weekend workshops on transforming trauma, conscious relationships, and my new workshop, Healing Your Inner Children, which focuses on creating and restoring coherence within ourselves through healing the fragmented versions of ourselves that is creating polarity and chaos and conflict. And we need to bring that into alignment so we feel a lot more whole. And this is going to be a completely different experience compared to my other workshops, because I'm coming from a different approach through a lot more creativity and play as a form of healing. And there is still depth in these processes as well. So I'll be running them in London, Sydney, Adelaide, Perth, and also in Tokyo. So please click on the links below to learn more or to book your spot. So there you have it, my love. May you practice and cultivate being in the seat of the observer. And for me, it's still a day-to-day practice, because things can go out of whack at any time. Our thinking changes all the time. Our mood changes all the time. And it's really important that we attend to ourselves first before we engage with others, so we can be leaders and space holders and observers and lovers for all, especially for humanity.